Welcome to For the Hawkra, a Seattle Seahawks podcast, part of the Believe Podcast Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Clinton Bonner. We'll be taking you through some Seahawks stuff today. I am joined by an amazing human and another procreator out there on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Adam Emmerich. How are you boys doing?
I'm doing great, man. Good to talk to you on this Father's Day. Hooray for us for doing the easy part of procreation. We are heroes, and I'm just so happy to be celebrated for that. The only other thing that I celebrated more today, Clinton,
Yes.
was watching sad Sean McVay face. Like I genuinely don't enjoy off-season topics for the most part. They're usually just nonsense. And this isn't total nonsense, but it's a little bit of nonsense. But I took so much joy in this, and I don't know if you did as much as I did.
Oh, Sean being big mad about Byron Murphy, which is what we're going to talk about on this little shorty today. Yeah, Adam, it brought me joy. What's that? The German word when you take joy in other people's pain, delight. There you go. So Schadenfreude all around with this one, man, on a happy Father's Day, right? This one brought me all those kind of joys because I hate the Rams a lot. Don't like McVay as a coach. I think he's really good, but that doesn't mean I got to like the guy. And I hate that franchise. And this was kind of fun. And before we do get into it, I do want to remind folks also out there on the Believe Network, subscribe to it. For the Hawker is a new pod on that network. Also, of course, you can catch all these shows, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Every single thing we do, whether it's for SHP or for the Believe Network, ends up on that YouTube. So you can catch it there, of course. All right. So back at it, Adam. So what kind of joy did it bring you to see McVay super big mad about tried to go get Byron Murphy? And we got some details to go over. We'll read about that through an article. But how much joy did it bring you today?
Oh my gosh. It was the best Father's Day present I could have gotten. And only because I only have the one kid. And so really I tell her every year, don't buy me anything because, she needs the money more, as a young person starting out in life here. So this was amazing, dude. I took so much joy in watching him and Snead like work the phones, try to get up. They're even calling their buddies O'Connell over at the Vikings, getting shot down. And I think what brought me the most joy was the phrase, what exactly how did it go, Clinton? It was something like he's a big time difference maker, or he makes a big difference for a team, or something like that, in terms of who Murphy is and can be. And to know that we get to inflict him with Byron Murphy II twice a year for the next 10, 15 years, and maybe give him hopefully at least 75% of the Aaron Donald treatment.
Exactly.
That brought a lot of joy and a smile to my face.
Yeah, let's go through it. So there was a great article out on field goals. Everybody knows field goals by now, right? So fieldgoals.com. Go check that out. The title of the article is Video, important. Sean McVay wanted Rams to move ahead of Seahawks to draft Byron Murphy II. And this was by Mookie Alexander. Of course, if you're listening to Seahawks stuff and reading Seahawks stuff, you know Mookie Alexander by now. So some really cool stuff here. They had a video embed from NFL that took them through what they were trying to do with the Jets. So with the Jets were picking 10th, Rams were trying to trade their 19th and their 52nd to the Jets to get up to the 10th. There was rumors also, Adam, that at that point they were looking at either Murphy or Brock Bowers. So they can't move up with the Jets. They throw up a Hail Mary to the Vikings, but McVay's, he's kind of resigned and says, I just think they're going to take their guy, who was JJ McCarthy, of course, which they did. They stayed at 11 and took them. The Raiders then take Brock Bowers at 13. And to get back to your point and what they were saying, this was his quote. He says, McVay said, "We'll be reasonable, but try and go up and get Murphy. I would try to go get this guy. He makes a huge difference to me. I just don't think he'll get past 16. I'm not saying reckless, but he's way better than anyone." I think there was like a ... continuation, but that's where they cut the quote off. I love this, right? And then it goes on. I think it's cool to read to everybody who hasn't seen the article. So then the Snead, the Rams GM, says, "Don't worry about that. That ain't in our DNA. McVay says, "What's that? What do you mean by that?" He goes, being reckless. I said recklessness isn't in the DNA. And McVay fires back and says, "Aggressively smart is." And then Snead goes, "I'll do anything. I just need to know what's fair." So then, Adam, let me lay out what they tried to go do. So the Rams offer the 19th, the 99th, which is in the third round, and 154th in the fifth. So basically go from 19 to 15, and then also get a 6-rounder back. So a pretty healthy package to move up what was only 4 spots and to try and jump the Seahawks to go get Murphy. And one last caveat, McVay kind of knew that if they couldn't make this happen, either the Colts or the Seahawks were going to take Murphy. So what do you think about that package? I mean, how much does it show you that the Rams really wanted this dude?
Yeah, I mean, it was about what they had to offer, so I guess it makes sense in that regard. But it did seem pretty obvious that, kind of Bowers and Murphy in that video that they present to us, right? Who knows what
Mm,
else is talked about behind the scenes, but at least in that video, that those were the 2 dudes that they were really hot to trot to get. And the second it seemed as if Murphy was a pipe dream that wasn't going to happen for their organization, Sean McVay became immediately dejected.
mm.
I think his hair actually fell over a little bit, like some of the stiffness of the hair gel went
Impossible.
out. Yeah, and it was just a sad day for him at that point. But I found the idea of Snead looking at him and being like, "Oh, well, recklessness isn't in our DNA." Isn't this the same freaking organization that was catfish them picks? Not but just like what 2-3 years ago? What are you talking about? Reckless isn't in your DNA. It's exactly what you guys do. I mean, it worked out
Yeah.
for them. They won 1 chip. That's great.
They did get the
But
chip,
yeah,
but great call out because they seem to not care a lick about first rounders for nearly a decade there. It seems like, right? So yeah,
yep,
maybe they were trying to turn over a new leaf, but it's funny to call them on the mat for that one because yeah, that's exactly who they were. And then of course the Colts take Latu. So and then I love that part where you're saying McVay is kind of dejected, but he throws that last little like, should we call Schneider? They just know at that point that Seahawks aren't. Seahawks are not going to let, especially knowing the Rams, right? First of all, we know the Rams. Second of all, we know who just left the Rams. Like it's
yes.
okay, clear as day. You've got a big hole here. You want to fill it. There's a guy that is shaped like like Donald with the kind of power that Donald has, with the potential. Of course, this is and Aaron Donald is really, when we say one of one, it's probably the best defensive tackle ever to play the game at this point.
Absolutely. And you talk about him asking Snead, like, well, should we call Schneider? And
Yeah.
Snead's response was crickets. Like he didn't say a word back to him. That I thought that was great. It's just like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not calling Schneider. Like, obviously the Seahawks are rebuilding their defense with their new defensive coordinator. And the best defensive tackle on the board is going to be sitting there, a position that they've been trying to solve for the last few years here. Like, yeah, no, I mean, I can call Schneider, but for what? See
Right.
how Ben's fund is doing? Like, I because he's not going to trade the pick. So it was delightful, that part of it. And then watching Sean sink into his seat after and be like, well,
Yes.
yeah, okay, I guess from here on out, like we just see how it falls and all that. Meaning, okay, those are the only guys I was interested in trying to shake things up for. And the rest is, however it goes. And then they try to play it off later in the video. Well, at that point, then just knew we were going to get a defensive guy that was going to be a big deal for our team and, in Jared Verse.
Yeah.
And, but clearly in the moment, like there was a tier there and they fell off the tier. They didn't get anybody in that tier. And now they have to suck on it.
Suck on it, they will. The other part, it's delightful that they don't get him. It's delightful that we have him. There is that like third leg, which is like, uh, I know what Byron Murphy is. At least I think I do, and I'm fired up for him. I guess I'm even a little bit more fired up, whatever that smidgen more might be, that the Rams felt this way about him, and there's a reason. And yes, I hate the Rams, but I can respect how they've been governed and how they, yeah, McVay's he's a damn good coach. He is what he is, right? And I
Mhm.
think he has a really good eye for talent and knows how to use his talent. In fact, I'm positive he does. And that part too was already fired up for Murphy, man, for sure, Adam. But did that add a little cherry on top to be like, oh, wow, if you wanted this guy that badly, it's even better for us. And I took a little more joy in that.
Yeah. Look, the Rams are my most hated team in the entire NFL, and the Niners being I don't think it's even a close second now. Just
Really,
second.
on the other way. I'm Niners hated first, but that's okay. You do you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't hate the Niners. It's just I hate the Rams that much more, right? And
Gotcha.
a lot of it has to do with the fact that sure they've had some success over the last few years, and especially against us. So yes, when you hear a team that you're competing with as fiercely as the Seahawks are competing with the Rams say, "Ooh, that's a guy we really wanted," and he becomes your guy now to torture them with. Boy, does that scratch the petty itch for me? Because I
Yeah.
like my football fandom is petty, petty, petty. And I love this just for all those petty reasons, man. It really works for my Hawker, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I think on this Father's Day, Adam, we could be very, very grateful. The gift that keeps on giving. Thank you, Jets. Thank you, Vikings. Thank you, Raiders. Thank you, Colts, for not making the trade, letting the Rams have to suffer through it all. And then we just sit there. And as all these offensive players go off the board, Byron Murphy falls to us at 16, and we get Byron Murphy. The Rams can suck it.
That's right. Suck it, Rams. And I think there's only one thing left to say after that, Clinton.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.